as well as on the Facebook page, My Rotary Show. And there's more information in the trade show of amazingness in the next room. And if you want to know more, let me know. There's several of you that have been on the show, so there's lots of folks in here that could give a testimony about it. But we thought it would be great to use art, once again, we use the reviews, and just really get an opportunity to talk to him about his journey and what he's seen in Rotary. So his official role is the president's rep here with us this year, but he is a past district governor of the district just to the north of us, as well as he is the zone coordinator, and he's in his second year. It's a 3-year assignment. So he's in his second year, which means he oversees all the coordinators, all of us. And I'm an assistant coordinator this year, just about to finish up in 22 days. So he's kind of oversees all of us, keeps us all in the right rowboat. And so
it's a little bit of an expanded role that you just gave me, but yeah.
So just to kind of explain, he's really seen a lot of our zone. So it'd be a great opportunity for us to pick his brain. So without further ado, tell us a little bit about why Rotary for you. What is Rotary, why?
So that's interesting. It'll steal a little bit of what I was going to say this evening, but that's okay. I've sold things all my life. Well, I mean, I sold pots and pans when I went to college, door to door. Still have a set. They were good stuff. So commission sales all my life, one way or another. I did run some factories for a while, but a big part of my pay package was built on our performance. Then I was in communications for about the last 15 years. And anybody that's been in communications knows that, again, a big part of your compensation is driven by, your performance. So I was off I had a Southeastern United States sales team for a major communications company. But I was making a local call at a medical firm and dealing with the office manager. And she invited me to breakfast the next morning. And then we laughed because I said, yeah, I'm married, She said, no, this is with some leaders in the community, and come on, we get together once a week, have breakfast. It's Rotary. Never heard of it. I was one of those people, never heard of it. But being a commissioned salesperson and a practitioner of radio station WIFM, what's in it for me? I had dollar signs in my eyes. Community leaders. These are the people I need to know in order to sell product. So I went to breakfast that morning, got a little bit of feel for those people as well as this organization, and became one of those people that went because of networking and stayed to change the world. I mean, I am that corny caption that you've seen in some of our promotional materials. Went for personal reasons, stayed to change the world. That's...
Oh, okay. Many of us are in the same boat, many of us. So you guys, when you were district governor, which was a very eventful year, I know I saw lots of photos and heard lots of stories. We won't talk about some of them here. But what was the most rewarding opportunity you had as a governor?
So our district is 62 clubs now, and it's actually Northeast Florida. Jacksonville, that northeast, 11 counties in the northeastern part of Florida. The most amazing thing, and I'm sure that Mike, Jamie, Tim, any of the PDGs in here, Carl, that would share with you, is you actually get intimate, for me, with 62 clubs. And you find out what amazing things each of those clubs is doing that you had no clue. I mean, you had an understanding, you thought they were doing something, you knew it, but now you're right in there. I mean, my wife Gingy and I, we had Saturdays where we did 3 events in a single day. And all of them amazing, and you went home and you were just gassed, but you just went home and, I mean, I think it was Jimmy Valvano in one of his speeches when he was at the ESPY Awards that said a great day is when you can laugh and you can cry in the same day, and we did that so many times. I mean, so many amazing people doing amazing things that you don't know.
So on the flip side of that, what was the biggest challenge you faced?
There's lots of challenges, and we face them as a governor. Every one of us will tell you maybe our top 2 or 3. And as a governor, when you assume that role, when you take over that role, you've had a progression. You've got great people in front of you that you're following. You've got great people behind you. And you can only really attack and straighten out maybe one thing that's problematic in your district, right? You can't say, I'm going to change everything. It's like government to a certain degree, except that when we say we're going to change something, we actually do it. So you pick the one thing, and you go in and you make a difference in that one thing, and you start the wheels in motion for the next folk that follow you to maybe make something else in there better. For us in our year, frankly, it was youth exchange. And we're a district that's had as many as 45 inbound kids.
No. Sorry.
We have 150 kids that interviewed for outbound. Not as many as you take in, right? And so we have a big process built around our youth exchange, but when you do get big, some things get running a little out of whack. And you've got to tweak it around the edges a little bit. So we've got to be very careful in everything that we do with the youth, right? Whether it's youth exchange, whether it's RILA, Interact. We've got to make sure that those programs are tight in every respect, so for the sake of the kids that are involved.
For sure. So, given those experiences, how did that prepare you to be coordinator? Now, coordinator is a little bit of a different role, and the team is certainly spread out a lot more.
So, in Rotary, I've never, personally, I've never asked for a job. When you do things and you accomplish some things, you get asked to do jobs. And I was lucky enough when I got done with my year of service that I was asked to be an assistant coordinator. And then through a series of changes because of people that were in the coordinator position had to do some things in their personal lives and had to get out of that role, I was asked to take over the role of coordinator position after 1 year as an assistant, which we now call associates. Because I'm not a big believer in assistants in a volunteer organization. We're all peers. And so having associates, people that are willing to work with you, is critical, not people that serve you, which is kind of how I see that assistant word. So it didn't really, other than the fact that I knew a lot of people and knew how to make things happen within our organization. And I'm actually the coordinator for membership. And I always saw myself that if I had an opportunity, it would probably be in a foundation role. I have a great love for the foundation. But it was easy to convince me that without the membership, we have no foundation anyway. So, and all of us that are involved in coordinator roles, we talk about all three. We call it a three-legged stool. We're all very capable of talking about foundation membership or public image, public awareness. So it's worked out very well. Whether it prepares you, I'm not sure. Rotary does a great job of training people. We make a great investment in our governor corps and our coordinators, and I'm so happy, and you guys have been very blessed with this in this district, with Jamie, with Tim, with Carl, now with Mike, and I'm missing it with Jared, in them taking on roles beyond the club, beyond the district, in these coordinator positions. And I can only say thank you for that. It's always pains me when occasionally a governor disappears. We've made a great investment in our governor corps, and it's wonderful when they're willing to take on some more of their time and talent. And it always costs us a little bit of our treasure when we take on these roles. We all make the same paycheck as you all do.
So Rotary's changed a lot in the last 5 years, particularly in the foundation area, but now in multiple areas. What do you think is the biggest change, and do you think it's enough?
So the biggest change has been in the flexibility we've given the clubs, legally given the clubs, because our argument was always, You know, when they said this Council on Legislation was revolutionary, you can now meet twice a week if you want instead of 4 times. And we said, yeah, we're already doing that. Because we've always encouraged clubs to do whatever makes you successful. Put it in your bylaws, do what makes you successful. It's your club, be autonomous, exercise that autonomy, and do what you need to do in order to be successful. But now that that change has been put into the manual of procedures, and I don't know how many of you have ever seen a manual procedure. It used to be very thick. It's getting much thinner, and it's still not bedtime reading, trust me, but it's getting thinner. One thing that I wasn't even aware of, and I got a call on it the other day, I got a call from a past district governor that was doing some club extensions, starting a new club, and a Kiwanian wanted to join the club. Was not leaving Kiwanis, but wanted to be a part of Rotary. He said, can't do that, can you? Because it used to be in the manual of procedures that you can't be in other service organizations at the same time you're a Rotarian. That's not in there anymore. I didn't even know it wasn't in there until we tried to find it. And we always knew that a lot of people were doing this anyway, but it was going to be very visible in a charter event because we were going to make mention that someone had finally come over from the dark side. So it's great, you know, but lots of changes in our club flexibility. We're going to do whatever we need to do to keep our organization vital and energized and moving forward.
Now, I know you get asked this question a lot about the foundation because we are truly this close to ending polio and wiping it off the face of the earth. What do you think's next for Rotary?
So I get asked this a lot, as do the directors. At that Council of Legislation, it was affirmed that there would be nothing on the books until the polio task was complete. But we're having those conversations, and the only thing I would say to you is don't ever let anybody at this level or higher tell you what's next. You need to tell them what's next. If you look back, polio, we became involved with polio because of an Australian Rotarian going to the Philippines, seeing kids crawling in the dirt, and saying this doesn't have to be this way. And it became our first humanitarian grant where we said, we can make a difference. And we did. And we wiped polio out of the Philippines, and then it became a worldwide project. But it was started by a Rotarian. And that's where the emphasis for whatever it is, whether it's malaria, it's water, it's Zika, it's Ebola. I mean, we hear all these things. And if I were to poll you, we'd get at least 20 different responses of what you think is important for the next thing we do. But it will be a consensus of our 1.2 million, or bigger at that point in time, of what we should do. And that's where it needs to come from. Or we won't be behind it. And that will be the challenge. You know, if somebody on high says this is what we're going to do, you're just going to go, well, I'm not. And that's what happens. So it's got to be a consensus of our 1.2 million, not of a few making that decision.
So I know I asked you this last night and it kind of stunned you, which I thought was pretty genuine. What's the most creative thing you've seen a club do? Creative.
I'm still stunned. We actually have, and I do not encourage existing clubs to do this. You know, with all the council legislation changes, some clubs looked at it and they go, well, we're not going to do that. My club's one of them. I meet once a week for breakfast. It cost us $8. It's the greatest breakfast you'll ever find any place. It's on the beach in Flagler Beach. And it's like, no, it's the best breakfast I get all week. And with the greatest people I see all week, right? So we're not changing a thing. And I don't encourage any club that's happy with what they've got going on to change. But we've actually got clubs forming right now that are meeting once a month. They're meeting twice a month. Maybe they're meeting once a month. They're doing a social once a month, a project once a month. If they're forming that way, it's working. If they're changing into that, then I would question your viability to begin with. You know, you've got something else going on at the core there you've got to address before you can make these changes. So when it comes to the changes,
that happened because of the council legislation, those are exciting things because they're working. I think the next thing you may see at some point, how many of you all keep track of attendance? Pretty soon I don't think anybody's going to care, except for you. So if it's important in your club, that may be as far as that goes. I think that might be one of the next changes. They reduced it this last go around. It went from 60, 70%, whatever it was, down to 50%. But nobody pays attention. Nobody ever did. You're exactly right. I'd go to clubs and they'd go, he's got 61 years of perfect attendance. I attended a Rotarian 61 years of perfect attendance. It was a celebration. I encouraged them, he's in his 90s. And of course, whenever we talk about somebody with 60 years of perfect attendance, we're talking about a male, right? He's in his 90s. And I encourage them, when he gets sick, because he may at this point, and if he's at home and can't get to the club, take the meeting to his house. Because the day his 61 years of perfect attendance ends will be the day that he's going upstairs. I mean, he's done. And if it ended and he was still alive, it'd be the thing that'd kill him. I mean, that's how much he loves it. So
you really are the advantage of participation over attendance.
Me? Yes.
And you see the clubs going that way too.
Yes, because no one can tell me where that attendance report you sometimes submit goes. And if you want to ask, Mike, when's the last time you checked an attendance record in this district?
Well, you're asking the wrong person.
Let me tell you what I do with attendance. DAC-BB does a great job of tracking attendance for our clubs. And when I know somebody's not reporting their attendance, is because there's this big red letter email that comes to me. It's a copy to the president of the club, and the email and the assistant governor says, "You haven't turned in your attendance." So what?
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. So beyond the club level, nobody much pays attention to it. We want your club to be strong and vibrant. And whatever it takes for your club to be vibrant is okay. See another PDG shaking his head over there.
So what do you think is the #1 challenge we face as an organization?
No, it's membership, definitely. Especially here in the States. Other parts of the world are growing very rapidly. And the States is shrinking very rapidly. But I will share one bit of information with you. Our zone is Georgia, Florida, and most of the Caribbean. Does not include the Dominican Republic or Cuba at this moment. We have grown for the last 2 years in a row. We are currently 1,000 members up for this year. If we were to hold that, it would be amazing. We won't. We'll have our June purge. But that number means that we will end up. Now, when I tell you that we've grown for the last 2 years in a row, last year we grew 109 members as a zone. And you go, well, that's not much. Second place was a -200 of the 12 zones that comprise North America and Central and part of South America. -200. That was the closest anybody came to being positive other than this zone, your zone. This year, at 1,000 members up, and this is how I look at this, we're kicking everybody's butt. And I do look at it that way. I actually got an email when we were up last year, 109, congratulations. And I don't recall who it came to, but it came to, or who it came from, but it went to Ravi Ravindran, John Germ, our director for that year, Robert Hall, myself, and my counterpart up in Zone 33, Paula Matthews. And it said, congratulations, Zone 34 led the 12 zones, I'm paraphrasing, the 12 zones in North America. And Zone 33 was second at minus whatever it was, 200. And I immediately wrote back, that's absolutely awesome. And then I realized I had just told John Germ it was okay that everybody in North America shrank as long as we grew. And so I wrote another email right back, John, I didn't mean it quite that way. But it's competitive nature.
And so much so that we actually rezoned North America, correct?
It's not complete yet, but because we're shrinking and other parts of the world are growing, we will always only have 34 zones that make up the entire world. 17 directors, each of them has 2 zones. North America, because of our loss in membership, is losing 2 zones. We do have an idea of where that is, but it'll not be finalized until the June Board of Directors meeting, which will happen immediately after the convention. I don't believe anything's going to happen to Zone 34. I don't think we're even going to grow. There was a point in time where we were going to pick up a South Carolina district or possibly 2. They petitioned to stay where they're at, and I believe those petitions have been granted. I believe that Zone 33, our sister zone, will grow a little bit, will stay the same. It's possible something even crazier could happen, but we're going to lose 2 zones. And you want to see tears in people's eyes. I mean, when you've been a governor or a zone director and your zone no longer exists, it's hard to take, right? Or when you go to our training sessions and our yearly meeting that's called Zone Institute, and they're no longer your classmates that are there, the people that you've gotten to know so well, that's hard to take. You sometimes don't go, right?
Change is hard.
Change is hard.
You know, Earl, I got something you might want to trade that thing in for.
What?
Something that really matters. Some leather that really matters.
What's that, Dave?
The Bible.
Oh,
How about that? How about we do a little trade-off?
Oh, I love it. I love it. We got the real word here, boy. I'm telling you. And by the way, man, I'm just so excited, man. We're going to be talking about God, TAC. That's going to be phenomenal on WeBeam TV every Tuesday at 5:30.
That's going to be great.
Unbelievable.
Absolutely.
So do we have questions from the audience? I think we've got some questions. There are microphones in the middle of the room, so come on up to a microphone. That'll make it easier for John to be able to get it on tape for you.
PDG Art, I'd like to be the first shill in the room to ask a pre-positioned question.
That's been pre-positioned to everybody but me.
Precisely.
Yes.
Put yourself in the situation of being a second-year Rotarian in a mid-sized 40 to 60 member club, and you're really having a little trouble figuring out what the culture's about there. What would you do as a new Rotarian to work into your club to get to know those people and make your Rotary experience a little bit better?
First, it's an interesting proposition anyway, because I'm a little bit concerned that that individual didn't research that club enough to understand what they were stepping into to begin with. And it's part of our problem and why we lose we lose more Rotarians in the first 3 years than all the other time combined, because they realize this isn't for me. And it's not Rotary. People don't quit Rotary. They quit their Rotary club. And so that's an interesting challenge, but I would think that you'd try and get yourself involved with the leadership of that club so that maybe you could address the culture. Because it sounds like maybe it needs to change a little bit. There's mics, and there's one at a mic. So.
Shelby, there's a mic right behind you, honey.
There's one right behind you.
Art, what advice would you give a 3-year Rotarian? And I'll hang up and listen for your answer.
Are we talking about Rotary, or is it a personal issue? So, that's a broad question, isn't it? I mean, embrace what we do, get involved in what we do, be engaged in your club. You know, as one of the things that was very interesting as governors, and I think that every one of the governors in here will support me in this. We would go to speak someplace, and Jamie and myself, Tim, some of us, Mike will be, we go now to different clubs in different districts. And it doesn't matter if it's 10 members or it's 300 members. You can walk into a club and in about 30 seconds know whether you're going to have a great meeting and presentation or if you're in deep doo-doo. Because you can feel it. And it doesn't matter what you say to that group, you're not going to get any kind of a reaction from that group. Or you could say absolutely anything and you're going to have a blast. And it varies. So we lose clubs occasionally. In some clubs we should lose. That's just a frank statement. But we shouldn't lose those Rotarians. So engage yourself in your Rotary club. If you can't get engaged in your Rotary club, look to the neighboring club. Not all clubs are healthy. It's what we've been trying to do, frankly, and it's why I think we're growing, is because we've put the emphasis on our clubs and on our members, our customers. You guys are the customers of Rotary. And we've got to build an organization, a company that's receptive to our customers. That starts at the club level, because it all happens at the club. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. You know, it doesn't matter what's going on at RI. It really doesn't. We have 600 employees in the organization, 600 people that get paid. The rest of us are all customers. We make this happen. And how we want to shape it and make it happen is what's important. But you can only shape it and make it happen if you're engaged.
Mr. McQueen, is it my turn to speak, please?
Yes, Shelby.
Thank you so much. I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Sugar Mill Woods in the county of Citrus County, where we have 6 fabulous clubs. 6 fabulous clubs. And I will tell you, many people come to my club and want to visit with us, and with the idea of coming into membership. First thing I say, I'm so happy to have you here, and I tell them we have 6 great clubs. Before we make a decision, please go and visit them and see what you think and find your perfect fit. But that, I will never take someone if they've not visited around and found out what Rotary is like in other clubs, because I know they won't go to any club in our county that's not fantastic.
Perfect.
So I think any place that has a county can do the same thing. And the other, you said a couple other things, but I've already forgotten, but I want to just make that one point. But thank you for allowing me to speak.
So Shelby, that's perfect, right? I mean, there's three main reasons that people join Rotary. Networking, service, fellowship. We paid $2 million to a major organization to do a survey to tell us what we already knew. Networking, fellowship, service. Not all clubs deliver all 3. So you've got to know what that new customer wants to do. If they want to do one of those things and the club they're visiting doesn't deliver on those things, and if you look at our age brackets, and you look at younger people, what do you think younger people are joining your club for? Networking. It doesn't mean they're not going to do service, but they want some networking. They want it, and some mentoring, right, frankly? And if you look at people in that middle age bracket, what are they doing? Service, right? And then when we get older, we still want that fellowship. And not every club covers all those stratas. So that's a perfect way to handle it. We want to put them in the franchise that best suits their needs, because then they'll stay.
Awesome. Well, guys, we have time for 3 more questions. I've got the 3 people standing up there, so please go ahead. If you have any additional questions, you can catch up with Art in the bar after dinner tonight.
We'll definitely do that. You talked earlier about what was next for Rotary, and that should be a decision that comes from the club members on up, and I agree with that. When we were in San Diego earlier this year at International Assembly, that was a great topic of discussion, and in fact there was a survey done there. And what that survey revealed is that a lot of the Rotarians in attendance felt like that the next problem that Rotary was going to tackle was going to be world peace. Now, polio has a solution, and it's 2 drops. But ever since we've talked about this in January, I've struggled with how does Rotary approach that particular issue, because there aren't 2 drops of anything that removes hate from people's hearts, or conflict, or cultural differences. So I don't know if you've also struggled with this question, but if you have, maybe you could give us some ideas of what you think that might look like from Rotary's standpoint if we were to adopt that. How does Rotary tackle an issue like that?
So we've been I mean, that is our ultimate goal, right? As crazy as that sounds, that is our ultimate goal. And if you look at the 6 areas of focus, and all the projects that you all do, if we were able to get more people involved in those 6 areas of focus and doing those projects and alleviated hunger and provided water, literacy, economic development, and eliminated disease, we'd have peace. To put it as our polio replacement project is an interesting challenge and dilemma, because you can't, in my opinion, you can't build a structure around it other than what we're already doing. That's my short, quick answer, Perry. I agree with you.
Same struggle I do.
Yes.
How can we do or maybe even Rotary International, do a better job of training our leaders of our clubs, or future leaders of our club, as to what membership is all about? It's not bringing in a body to increase the number. It's getting someone to embrace what Rotary is all about before they join the organization.
So what can we do to train our clubs better is the
Yes.
basis. So I think it's why we're being successful. You guys know George Robertson Burnett. George is sitting over there. George has been an associate Rotary coordinator now for 2 years. George, we have a team. As Jamie described, we have a team. And our task and our role is to get out. It's the way we see it. It's not this way in every zone. Let me clarify that. The way we see that is we do our best work on the ground, at the club level, not at major events, Major events, you can go to a major event and hear the greatest speaker you've ever heard in your life. And when you go back to your club, it could be 2 days later, you cannot convey the emotion that you felt, what you heard, the message that you heard. You get snippets of it, but you don't get the entirety of it. But when we can go into a club and meet with that club and discuss whatever problem or challenge or not that they're having on a one-on-one personal level, our team does make a difference. And I think it's why we're being successful here. If you look at our team, we have to turn in a report every quarter of what we've done, and we do get a small budget in case we're in a hotel or we travel, whatever the case may be. We have to turn in a report, and it correlates with those expenditures. And if you look at our reports and the number of club visits we've done, it's phenomenal. And you've been involved with that, and thank you very much. You've engaged George, and plus you've got some great leadership in your district that is talking at the club level. But that's where it happens. Call us. I mean, people call me and they go, who can come and speak? Any one of us. Who do you want? Is the way that we run our team. We're supposed to be limited by geography, but we don't want to put somebody in a club that you don't want in a club. So if they don't convey the message in the way you want it, we're going to send somebody different. We've got a great team that does sing from the same sheet of music and has the same thoughts on membership and how to make it better. So I think with any one of our team, you get great, but you've got a guy right now that's an hour and a half, 2 hours away from most of your clubs. I can't stand the guy, but you guys like him, so you know.
Carl?
Art, earlier you made mention that oftentimes past district governors, when they're finished as DG, end up kind of disappearing into the woods, and we lose that talent. I think potentially the same problem occurs in the 500 and some districts we have with club presidents when they're done with a year. Can you share any thoughts on best practices you've seen or have heard about for districts, in effect, to retain those people and keep them actively involved so that everyone benefits beyond the club?
Yep, you're absolutely right, Carl. Service beyond the club is critical to us as an organization. And you are doing something like 3 of the districts in Florida do with a twist. 3 districts in Florida have a tri-level assistant governor service set up. So when I entered my year as a DGN, I had 13 AGs that were all brand new to that role and made that journey with me throughout. They were done being an AG when I was done being a governor. But at the same time, we then created 13 people that probably half of which we would hope at some point their club would submit their name to be district governor. First year they served as membership committee. Second year they serve as the foundation committee, part of the foundation committee. And then the third year, of course, they're all knowing and all seeing. And so they do everything. You do it a little bit different. You have people that are responsible in each of those roles. You just haven't titled them in that assistant governor role. And if those are the folks that you're drawing on from the talented presidents that are great, I mean, you take, as somebody said, Citrus County, Shelby, I think, said Citrus County, 6 clubs. You probably got 1 AG that takes care of those 6 clubs. We give them 3 that take care of those 6 clubs. And it just adds that much more resource, keeps that many more club presidents engaged. I did a slideshow when I had the pleasure of saying goodbye to everybody at this event, the district conference that year. I did a slideshow that just ran in the background. And it was a thank you to everybody that served. Now, our district's a little bigger. We have 3,300 members. But there were 160 names on that slideshow of the various committees and volunteer positions that had been filled. 160 people to support the 3,300 members in the district. And that didn't include the club presidents. Most critical job in our districts, right? So there's a lot of people, there's a lot of things to be engaged about, but we don't always do a good job of getting the message out about what's available and how you can be engaged.
Any final remarks, Art?
This evening,
this evening. Actually, I think we're going to get a couple of minutes from you at lunch, too.
What? I didn't hear that. Didn't hear that.
I think we're going to get a couple of minutes from you at lunch as well.
Yes.
Jamie, anything to add?
No, I just want to thank Art for doing this with us, and we
No,
really
thank you.
appreciate you and Gingy being with us this weekend.
Nope,
Thanks so
thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you all very much. This is great. Good. Great.
Many thanks to Art and Jamie for coordinating this. Art's last response to a question had to do with how do you groom members, Carl's question, how do you groom members for future leadership? Let me just tell you, folks, if you are in this room, we are grooming you for your next job. Don't kid yourself, all right? I'm going to turn over the Sergeant at Arms.
Jamie, Art, thank you guys again so much. John Gaston, Tampa Bay Multimedia, thank you so much for being out here today and everything you do for our community.